All right, welcome into the Raw Knuckles podcast today. Special guest today, and I love having these guys on, guys who were willing and able to drop the gloves back in the day. And not only great fighter, but a great hockey player, Behn Wilson.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Raw Knuckles. Hosted by Chris Nilan.
Nilan going ballistic. I love it. He's going to hit his own players. He's a madman. He's a freaking madman. Look at him going to town. That'll be a suspension. That'll be a fine. Bring them all out, Nilan, you freak.
It's going to be sick.
What's up, Ben? How are you, pal?
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me on the show. Excited to be here.
Yeah, it's awesome to see you. I think the last time I saw you was actually in Chicago, but the first time I met you was in Philadelphia. But I want to go back to your days in growing up in Toronto area. You played for the Don Mills Flyers as a young kid, was it? Not the Don Mills. What was it? Their nickname?
Don Mills Flyers.
Yeah. Flyers, yeah, that's right. Yeah. You were 16 years old, and growing up around Toronto, obviously, everybody wants to play hockey. Were you a Leafs fan?
Of course. I don't. Yeah. People didn't move around much back in those days, so families grew up in one area, and it's 100% Leaf fans. I don't think there was another consideration. Everyone was a Leaf fan. That's the way it was.
In what part of the city did you grow up there in Toronto?
I grew up on the east side in Scarborough.
Scarborough, okay. So, obviously, playing minor hockey there, and then did you have aspirations as a young kid, that young, of playing in the NHL like a lot of Canadian kids did?
Yeah, I think every boy, every kid, that when they're younger, they have visions of that. And in Canada, it's just that everyone plays hockey, and everyone dreamed about it. And I don't know how much reality it was. And then my life changed personally when I was 15, and my two brothers and we stopped all the other sports, and we went and skated in the summer 6 hours a day. And we started missing school and skating. And so at 15, I was going to say, yep, it was pretty damn serious.
So you got two brothers growing up. I guess when I think of Behn Wilson, I think of tough as nails. How was that growing up with those two brothers playing hockey together? Were you guys always fighting, competing against one another? Or did that come from somewhere else?
I had two phenomenal brothers. One was a year and a half older, one was 2.5 years younger. And I used to get my share of pissed at my older brother for no reason. But I'm lucky I'm alive, because he was so much bigger and stronger than me that he could have snuffed me out at any moment. And all he did was beat me up. So that was great. But it was certainly great in the summers practicing with them and pushing each other, and to skate faster, be tougher, and all that stuff. It was a big leg up for me.
Did your brothers play junior hockey, or have aspirations like you did of playing the NHL?
Yeah, my older brother and I played junior together in Ottawa, and he was drafted to Toronto, I think the 5th round, and my younger brother played for the Toronto Marlboros, and I'm not sure where he was drafted, but he managed to play one game against me for the New York Rangers, which
okay.
I was so worried about him. I'm pretty sure I played a horrible game. Watching him, I could have fed him a puck and sent him in on a breakaway. Just desperate for the guy to do well, but yeah. So they were both very good players.
Cool. So Don Mills, you played for them. You had great numbers as a 16-year-old. And were you drafted by Ottawa then in junior? Did they draft you, or did they just sign players back then? They drafted you.
I was drafted in the second round to Ottawa, and my brother was drafted there the year before. And an interesting story in minor hockey, you weren't allowed to fight, and you go to junior hockey and trying to make the team. I think there was, if there were 50 fights during training camp, I was probably in 45 of them. And my brother, who was bigger and stronger than me then, he was in the other five. And it's sort of like as Chris, there's no school for fighting. It's on the job training, and it behooves you to learn quickly.
Well, the Ottawa 67s, right? Was Brian Kilray the coach back then?
Absolutely.
Brian Kilray, just a legend in Ottawa, no question. Coming in that first year, and you say, it's on the job training. You never fought at all on the ice up until that point, but did you fight in the street or get in fights in the neighborhood, anything like that?
Oh yeah. I had the some moral code that whenever the older kids were picking on my friends, I would jump in and probably get beaten up by older kids. But next time I jumped in, I always thought I was defending someone, and there were always older kids. But yeah, I was in a lot of fights. Nowadays, I think they'd put you in juvenile detention or whatever. But back then, it was a different world.
Yeah, you get to settle your scores with your fist. So the 67s, you play there a couple seasons. You go to Windsor, and then I'm just checking out your junior career here, and then you went to Windsor, and then the Kingston Canadians, and you had your best year in your draft year. How did you end up going to Kalamazoo for 13 games as a junior? You went and played pro 13 games, IHL. What happened there?
It was a ridiculous story. We went to my brother and I got traded to Windsor. We played. I think I played like 6 games there. I might have played a few more, but we were. I thought we were playing extremely well, and I went to the Junior Canada hockey tournament, and I came back, and we had 3 defensemen playing 45 minutes a game, and Wayne Maxner, the coach, decided to suspend me for indifferent play, and at the same time, the IHL decided to not recognize or allowed kids under 21 to play. And so my agent called me up, said, "You want to go play?" And I went there for, I think, 13 games.
Yeah, it was 13 games. How was that, going from junior to a pro league, basically? And then were you a little nervous going in there, all older guys? And
Yeah, the good thing for me, I was 6'3", 210 by then, and I had a year and a half of fighting under my belt. But the International League was extremely tough. It was extremely crazy back then, and there were fights in the fans, players going in the stands. It was all crazy, and all of a sudden you're dealing with men, and you're fighting for your life, and of course, I think the worst thing is back down and take the shit, and they'll give it to you again. So, yeah, I was in a bunch of fights. It was a crazy, crazy tough time, but a great experience for me. So, never seen.
Yeah. And then you go to Kingston Canadians, and you had your best year of junior, 76 points, awesome season. And you're drafted same year as me, 78. You were 6th overall.
Yeah.
You know what? You know where I was? I was 231 out of 234. So we're drafted in the same year. Different rounds. I was the 19th round. You were the first round. I stayed in school. I played university, and I've stayed in school one more season. Then I came out. And so you went to Philly your first year. As a rookie, 78, 79, 49 points. Like, I look at your career numbers. You were, a lot of people say, oh, tough guy. Yeah, he was crazy. He could fight, blah, blah, blah. But you could play the game. You could play both ends of the ring. You scared the shit out of people. You created a lot of room for yourself, but you took advantage of it, which I loved. I love guys, and not that I didn't like guys who could just fight, because I did. They got their opportunity. They got a chance to play in the NHL. But guys who fought and played, and you were one of them, it's impressive. But that last year in Kingston, you're drafted 6th overall. You go to camp. Back then, too, most guys spent a year or two, or at least a portion of a season in the American Hockey League. You bypassed that and went right to the Flyers. What's your first camp like going into Philadelphia, the Broad Street Bullies? And they were loaded with tough guys back then. Loaded. Did you think you had a chance? That first year.
I think everybody trying to make that steep pyramid into playing pro sports thinks they got a chance, and then you got to go do it. But the funny thing for me, in training camp went really well, and I don't think I was in one fight in training camp. Now let me be clear, I would have had 100 fights if it was necessary to stay on the team. So this is a flashback. Let me just digress. The reason I got hooked up with you was Scoop Malinowski, who wrote a book about me, Facing Behn Wilson. And I've got nothing to do with the book other than it prompted me to reflect back on a lot of things. And one of them is I go into the Flyers. Everything is going well. I'm not even in a fight. And I thought, maybe I don't fight. Maybe I'm just a player. And, against the pros, as you know, they're bigger, stronger, tougher, more determined, more desperate. And I said, I don't know if I can win a fight anyway. So maybe I'm just a player. And so that went on into the regular season game. I don't know how many games, but not that many. And there's a pushing and shoving, 5 guys in. I'm in Toronto, and push and this. So I grabbed the closest guy to me, which everyone did. So no one, it's not 2 against 1. And it's Tiger Williams. So I'm holding a little bit onto Tiger Williams, looking somewhere. Next thing is he sucker punched me onto the ground. and at that moment, I realized my non-fighting days are over, and he started it. And then, but the other thing that was so funny was we were going a couple days later into Boston, and Paul Holmgren came and said to Sam before the game, he said, Ben, listen, they're damn tough. He says, we kind of got pushed around last year. And he said, we got to assert ourselves this year. He said, maybe, he said, listen, I don't know if you fight, but at least hold on to someone so someone doesn't, 2 guys don't pound on one guy. At least hold on to someone. And I remember saying to Paul, I said, I don't know if I can win. I have no idea if I can win in the pros, but I'll fight. And, that getting back to that thick skull, I figured, what the hell? They can beat on me, but I'm not going to let our team get pushed around. And in the first period, John Wensink ran me through the boards, and then you realize that again, my goal scoring, non-hitting career is over, and because it was as you know, it was a pretty violent game back then.
Yeah, it was. And listen, where does that? Listen, because you fought a lot in junior. I know it's men now, and being in the NHL, and everybody's bigger. They've been around. They have some experience. But where did that? I guess it seemed like you didn't have a lot of confidence about you. You weren't sure about yourself because, listen, you're 6'3", you're 220, you're tough as nails. You've done it before. Where did that little trepidation come from? You're not sure if you could do it because, Christ, I didn't see any of that certainly once you got it going. But where did that come from? that not kind of being unsure?
Well, I go back my first fight in junior. The way I describe it, there were a million fists flying around. Some of them were probably mine, but I couldn't tell what was going on. And you get to the penalty box and you have no idea what happened. And more fights, the fighting basically slows down to your mind to get a better strategy and technique. And but I never made a mistake. Guys like you can put your fist through my brain. And you can say, "Oh man, I had a bad day. I slipped." Well, if someone's fist is still through your brain, it's tough. And I never took any of that for granted. And you don't know how the pros are. You don't know if you're fast enough for the pros. You don't know if you're strong enough. You don't know. And again, there's not a lot of lessons in coaching, and it's more drop your gloves, pass fail, and and the next thing is. Each fight you're trying to survive the fight, and certainly one of my theories was you don't win a fight hitting a guy 100 times and they hit you 99 times. That's not very good. You're not going to last like that, and you've got to be able to stop guys from hitting you hard, and then the funny joke I think about this is. I fought to get on the junior team. I was going to fight to stay on the pro team. I was going to do anything. And then you get guys that are really good in junior and they don't have to fight. And all of a sudden they're trying to hang on the team in pro. And all of a sudden they're going to be tough to a little bit of something value added. And you fought some of those guys like that yourself. And I have is the pros is a bad time to learn how to fight.
Yeah.
It's a bad time because you can tell in about 2-3 seconds how good the fighter is, and it's not just how strong he is. Do they know how to fight? Do they have a strategy, or are they confused? Are they all over the place? Are they desperate? You can tell, and so you better learn it. You better learn it early, and by the time you fight the real fighters in hockey, I make no mistake, all of them can hurt you.
Yeah, they can. People always ask me that. Who's the toughest? Blah, blah. I said, listen, every one of them. I never rated guys like that. I knew if they were righty or lefty, right? Yeah. But I never said, oh, this guy, he's a pushover. This guy's really tough. I looked at every guy the same that way because I gave him that respect because I know guys who did that job, how difficult it is and how good you have to be to survive and do that job. It's funny you say that, and I think back and learning on the job and stuff like that. I played college. I fought in the street growing up like kids, same as you. Like I'm fiercely loyal to my family and friends. I stuck up for people, stuck up for my friends. And so when I get into hockey, like I didn't have a contract my first year, right? Because I got invited to training camp. Back in our day, you got drafted. I always say this, I got a letter 2 weeks later from the Canadiens saying that you've been drafted, we're inviting you to training camp. No one called me, nothing. Like, okay. So I stayed in school one more year, but I came to training camp, didn't have a fight. The Habs just won their 4th Stanley Cup in a row. And I come to camp, and everybody said, what are you doing leaving school? You don't have a chance, blah, blah, blah. I go to Nova Scotia, Ben, and I got a 5-game tryout for $200 a game. Bert Templeton was the coach. Now, Bert loved tough guys. He wasn't big on college kids or American players. So I was given the, just get in the back of the line and listen, blah, blah. And I did. That 5-game tryout, the first 4 games were in Halifax. And then we went on the road. My first game I'm going to play and earn my $200 was in Maine. And wouldn't you know it, Bob McCammon's coaching. And wouldn't you know it, they're all the guys on that team. Bonds, Busnick, Glenn Cochran. Yeah. So my first shift, I hit Glenn. I didn't know who was who. I had no idea who the fight. I just knew Glenn was big. I hit him. He slashed me. We turn around. We fight. I ended up cutting him open. with a good punch. I did well. We both got kicked out of the game. I get a phone call the next day in my room from the coach. Didn't say a word to me after the game. I get a call from the coach. He said, "Hey, come down my room. I want to talk to you." Now I think, this is how naive I was. Now I think I'm getting sent to Flint in the International League,
Sure.
which was the level down because I got kicked out of the game. So I come in the room and he goes, "Hey, great job last night." I know, thanks, coach. He said, "Do you have an agent?" I said, "No, I don't have an agent." He said, "Well, you better find one." He said, "Because the Canadians want to sign you to a contract. One fight.
There you go.
One fight." Yeah. And I had it was crazy. I ended up getting the agent, signed the contract. Now, God rest his soul, Glenn passed recently, right? He had cancer. I think it was maybe 2 years ago now, a year and a half ago. Great guy. I ended up, this is funny. I was fishing out in Vancouver Island. I am in the middle of nowhere fishing with a couple of buddies, a friend of mine from out there, and there's another boat fishing. It was really secluded area. So my friend Jim said, "Let's go over and say hi to these guys." We pull over. Who is it? Jack Makalaki and Glenn Cochran.
Oh, boy.
It's unbelievable. 1984 this was. I could not believe it. "Hey, how you doing?" Anyway, back then we didn't talk to guys on the other team, right?
No, exactly.
So the fight game, and I know you and I have fought. We fought in training camp in Philadelphia, so there's no videotape of that, but we fought in Chicago too. That team, Jesus, I look at that team, it's insane. The Philadelphia flu is a real thing, okay, because I've seen it.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen guys sit in the room before those games in Boston and Philadelphia. And not that I wasn't nervous, because I was, but I couldn't show it. But boy, I saw teammates that were scared to death. And here's why. Okay? This is 1980-81 when you had your best season in points. Incredible. 63 points. What a freaking season you had. 16 goals, 47 assists. But alongside you, now you're coming into Philadelphia. Bobby Clark is there. We know Bobby. He's going to lead the hit parade and lead the troops. Behn Wilson. Paul Holmgren. Mel Bridgman. I'll throw Linsman in there, the rat. Bob Daly. Gary Morrison.
Moose
Blake.
Newfound. Oh,
Blake.
Moose there? No.
Yeah. No, Moose was. Blake Wesley. Tough
Yeah.
kid. Glenn Cochran. Mike Busniak. Frank Baith. Hello. There's like 8 guys. Like, that was such an uneasy feeling going in there. Now, did you, I guess, playing against other teams in the spectrum, but that had to be a whole different animal for you guys. You must have just felt like no one's going to beat us. Guys don't want to touch the puck in that building, no?
Oh, no, absolutely. We had incredibly tough team. And like Bobby Clark, say what you want. He was a vicious pain in the ass out there. Kenny Linsman was a vicious pain in the ass. And they were the little guys. And Paul Holmgren, not a great fighter in my opinion, but a terrifyingly player. And these guys are out on the ice all the time. It's not like, they're out all the time. And I know that there is some years for you in Montreal. My sense is you're out there all alone. And
I kind of was. I mean, I had teammates, but there was a few years there I didn't have another guy like myself until John Corder came in, and then there was the 2 of us.
Yeah, no, and I'll tell you what, it's every team has a better home record, and there's a reason. We had a tough team, and there was the Flyer flu, no question about it. And it's also all that builds up, and if you're the sole tough guy on the team, it's a lonely feeling. And And people, I think it's tough to realize you're up there alone, and it's not like there's the ref's whistle's not going to protect you. So it's a tough feeling, and it's a tough feeling. I just echoing what you said, and I was saying this to Scoop, who wrote the book about me. Um, some guys, well, I wasn't afraid of him. I wasn't afraid of him. Shit, I was terrified of everyone because they all can hurt you, and I was probably more terrified of backing down. But these guys were tough, and everyone, you included, and you've got to be on your A plus 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 game every fight, or you're going to get pounded. And I think there's a lot of guys that come in the league. They'll come in the league for a couple years, and they got the A plus 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 rage fighting going, and then after a couple years, they only get the A plus fighting going, and that's not good enough. It's not good enough. You're going to get hurt. You're reluctant to fight, and because we know, I knew the guys that aren't going to back down, and it's a game of intimidation. And if you can get a guy to back down, I was merciless with forwards, especially the guys that good goal scorers who aren't tough. I didn't want them near my net, and no sense in them being around the net and scoring. And if I could terrify them so they hung back 50 feet, even 20 feet.
You did terrify a lot of people.
Hey, I'll tell you what.
Shitting me?
I tell guys before the whistle puck drop, in the game after the whistle, don't you ever score when I'm on the ice. And it worked with a lot of guys, and some guys it doesn't work with. I could have, you and I could have fought 100 times, and all we'd be doing is be older and grayer and sorer, but neither of us would have backed down. And then there's some small guys that were tough. Clark wasn't backing down for anyone. Kenny the Rat Linsman wasn't backing down. Mike Bossy was tough. I used to whack him all over the place, but when it came time to score a goal, he was right there. And eventually, all you can do with him is take penalties. And he wasn't backing down. So there's that type of toughness, and I really respected that.
God, yeah, I look at that lineup, like I said, and back in that day, the smaller rink. Now all the rinks are the same size. Boston Garden was the same thing, right? They had a smaller building, and they built their team around that. That's it. It's uncomfortable playing those small buildings. I remember Mats Naslund, little Swedish guy. He came over the first time he played in the Boston Garden. He was like, "Oh," and this kid was a tough little bastard because, and I say that he wasn't tough fighting wise. He didn't go run at guys. He wasn't yappy. But he would go in the corner for the puck first. Yeah. He wouldn't pull up. He would go to the net while someone's hacking the shit out of him. But if I can ask you, what was, and again, I agree with you when you say, you hear guys say, "Oh, I wasn't scared." No. I was nervous for every game. I was scared of, I had the fear of losing a fight. I never was like, "Oh my God, I can't do my job because, it's too tough tonight. I'm too sore. I'm too scared to do my job." No, I was able to walk through the fear and deal with it and deal with what I had to. And I didn't mind that. That being said, what was the scariest night for you as far as that part of the game goes? Because I had a few of them.
Well, I think just the concept where you say that, I think some guys picked and chose their fights and not. And, when they're fresh, we're at the end of the game and they haven't played and the other guy's tired. And, I didn't do that, but, sometimes you get, all the traveling, you get pretty sick. And I remember several games you're so sick and you say, if I can survive this game at all and any way, and the one thing for sure is I'm too tired to fight. I just have no strength. I can barely get up the ice. I'm dying. And I pray to God I'm not in a fight. And the next thing you know, there's, I can think of several times you're in a fight and you say, "Holy shit, I'm fighting at quarter strength, quarter energy," and and I found that tough. I think one of the going to Boston Gardens was tough. The corners were square. The game was dump the puck right in the corner, and because it never comes out, and it's like Keystone Cops. Everyone's lining up to run over everybody, and it was a battle. It was a battle, and I think that was always no. There's always the fun one was in Detroit. I think my second game. Scared. I was walking off the ice in between periods, and the fan went and grabbed my stick and whacked me with my own stick. Now, that scared me a little bit. I said, "How do you even get on the damn ice?" And you think there'd be a little more protection at that time, but I think the game was pretty crazy back then, and I think that and the reason is you didn't get penalized that much. Like it's fair
You
to
could
say,
get away with a lot, right?
oh, my joke to everyone was those real small fast guys. For some reason, they slow down when the whistle goes. And I figured I got another 3 seconds to cross check them from behind. And,
Right.
And what are they slowing down for? Surely they know. Surely they know I'm going to do it. And and then cross checking in front of the net was just. I'd have 100, 200 cross checks. Hard,
Crazy.
just smoking coming from the corner, and you run in front of the net and cross check the guy as hard as you can from behind. And he goes flying, and you sit there and say, "Wow, that's a pretty crazy thing."
I watched 2 of your fights with O'Reilly, and they were awesome fights, like really good. But the first one, you grabbed the puck just by the net, and he used to get his legs going, and he would run you over. Well, he hit you, and down you went, but you got right back up and went after him. And the 2 years, do you remember those 2 fights, you and Taz?
No,
Yeah.
I don't seem to. Of course I do. I remember it. And that's what happened when Scoop called me up about my book. All of a sudden,
What's the name of the book again? Sorry.
The book is called Facing Behn Wilson.
Facing Behn Wilson. Scoop
And
Malinowski.
Scoop has written some books on
Yeah.
some other guys, and but all these when these memories come back, it's like it happened now. It's not even 2 seconds ago, right?
Yeah.
So my story with Terry, Terry was dangerous. He played a lot, and he was relentless. And the time I fought him twice in one game, and she said, "I got the puck. I don't know. I don't have the puck." And next thing is, boom, I got leveled. He flew me on my back.
Oh, did he ever?
And the one thing about me is I very seldom got knocked off my skates. I had really good, strong balance. So for a guy to knock me off, believe me, he hit me hard. And
Yeah.
my take on this is, I believe this. Anyone who drops their gloves and gets in a fight, I feel they both win. Right? It's
Yeah.
tough to drop your gloves. And so anyway, I get up and you can't take that shit in my opinion. So I got up and in a fight with him, and he's a lefty, and
Oof.
I hated fighting lefties. My strategy of locking up the arm doesn't work because it's the other arm, and the fight was long and bad, and it was a just tough fight, and surprisingly, and Terry knows this in terms of intimidation. Later on in that game, he leveled me again, and basically saying, because he said there at the end of the first fight, he said, "Oh, I killed him. No, he killed me." The fact is, that was a tough fight, and if you won 53% to 47%, I don't know if that's winning. So anyway, he leveled me again. God damn, we're back up and we're fighting. It's a long fight. It's not like we grabbed and fell each other and we're swinging away. And so you go to the penalty box, as you know, by now time they could just put me to sleep. I'm exhausted, and somehow the 5-minute penalty goes by pretty quickly. And as soon as the penalty is over, they put me back on the ice, and you feel like saying, "No, you can leave me on the bench for a little bit. I'm pretty tired."
Yeah. Right.
And there's a guy in the stands there. They called him Sign Man. We're waiting for the puck to drop. I guess it's a TV timeout, and Sign Man holds up a sign, and it says round. And I'm standing right beside O'Reilly. It says round three.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, no, hey, thanks for that help. Listen, I hope your seat's pretty cushy, and make sure that your beer didn't get too warm. And Terry's there, and I look over at him and say, "What are you going to do? I mean, if he's going to fight me, you got to fight." And I said, "I
Yeah.
don't know what I'm going to hit him with. I'm going to like breathe heavy on him. Maybe I can, fall on him or something. I'm exhausted." And he looks over at me. He's got a big grin on his face, and at the time I said, "Okay, well, he's had enough too." But what a it's almost the sign man. I pay you money. Take the sign down, please.
Don't
Take the
fight
sign.
again. Say,
Take
put.
the sign down. Come on. So no, but they were crazy times. And you say, do you remember that? And this stuff was so intense. It was so tough. Um, if you don't mind, I just thought of this a
Go right
scary
ahead.
story. So my very first year, I'm in 19, and the Flyers were playing the Islanders in a big rivalry, and the games are tough. And this is when five guys could stay, and two guys could beat up one guy, and they
Yeah.
changed all that, and it was crazy. So anyway, there's some, I don't know, fight, pushing and shoving, and you grab one guy, and hell, I have Mike Bossy.
Oh,
Now back then, I thought every game was like the last night of my life, and this is a fight to the bitter end. And I'm holding him, just pushing and shoving, and I'm thinking, you know what? If I hit him, and it's going to be bad. It's going to be a bench clearing brawl. It's going to be bad. But then again, if it's going to take them like 5 seconds, and in 5 seconds, I can hurt him, and then he's not playing. And anyway, I'm mulling it over in my mind, and so I'm doing some deep thinking shit, right? And deep thinking, and I'm 19, and this is the last leg of my. And all of a sudden, he yanks on me. I guess I was holding him tighter than like, and he's trying to stand up for himself, and he yanked on me a little bit. I dropped my glove. I'm about to throw this punch and kill him, and Billy Smith had skated by that time. He saw me holding on to him, probably too a little roughly. He skated 3/4 length of the ice, jumped on my back. So I never get my punch in. And of course, everyone's on top of me, and my arms are down by my side, and someone's choking me. And I'm fighting as hard as I can to get my hands up to stop him from choking me. Anyway, I finally do it. I'm dying for air, this and that. I finally grab the hand, and I get his hand, and I know what to do. The anyone's choked me. I'm putting it in my mouth. I'm biting him, right? And I got his hand in my mouth. I bit him so hard. I had an inside mouth guard. If not, I would have taken off the finger and be suspended for the rest of my career. But anyway, the guy's choking me, and I didn't take kindly to that. So anyway, I bit him hard, and the guy yells, "I'm the ref." And I said, this is the whole thing
this is
didn't go the
not
way I
good.
planned. I was going to wipe out Bossy. I didn't get a chance. I got choked, and I bit a ref. What a series of events, Ben. You're going somewhere in this league. People are going to really respect your good judgment. But so
Did
I
you
think that,
did you get suspended for that? The bite?
no, I didn't.
No, you
It was
didn't.
the greatest. It was the greatest. I should have bit more guys. I should have bit more guys the more I think about it.
Right? Oh,
Yeah.
so that reputation of being that tough guy and carrying that game in and game out, walking out of buildings in the NHL, getting on the bus, getting on the plane, that reputation of being the tough guy, did that wear on you at all?
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's kind of a game of king of the hill, but it's not a one and done thing. What wore on me is every team. I came after the Broad Street Bully Flyer Cup days, and every team was getting tough guys like you. And so our team was very, very tough, but a lot of teams had tough guys.
Yeah.
Montreal just had you, which was
Yeah.
bad for you. But and then what would happen is, and this is my description of it, is all of a sudden there's me looking at the team's lineup, and there's a new guy, and his spelling was so long that they had to crop it off after like 80 letters, and there's no vowels and all that, and he's played one game and he's got 62 minutes and penalties, and you sit there, and so they call him up one game. And,
Used to read the sheet, right? You look at the sheet,
oh,
the game
yeah.
sheet.
Oh,
You gotta know.
You gotta know, and you sit there and you say, "Who the hell is this?" And then they call up new guys, and and the next thing, in 15 seconds into the game, I'm in a fight with them, and if you win that fight, and they got another guy to call up the next game, right? And remember Archie Henderson?
Oh, I had Archie on the podcast. I love that guy. He is the nicest man. You wouldn't. He is a sweetheart, Archie. So go.
So I know who Archie Henderson is from the Reputation, the minors. 500 penalty minutes, and he's like 6'5", and so anyway.
Big man.
We started the game in Philadelphia against Washington. The puck comes into our end. I'm skating out of our end. The puck's going the other way of a defenseman. All of a sudden, boom, I'm on the ground. He two-handed me over the head, and I'm on the ground. And anybody with any brains would stay down and get whacked that hard. And but nope, I'm just too pissed. And I get up. He's a good fighter. Knows how to fight, strong. I mean, you know the guys that are good fighters. He knew what he's doing.
Yeah.
I had a great fight, and I thought I hit him hard. And I thought I hit him hard that he goes down. I thought I had knocked him out. And after the fight, the refs got in there, and he stood up. He didn't go down. He stood in there, and after the fight, he said to me, "Good fight." No one ever said that to me.
Right?
Now I'm twice as mad, and I'm not really happy the guys are able to swing their stick over my head. So later on, he's going up the right wing, and someone gives him a pass too late. So I run over, and I'm going to go cross check him in the head, because it's fair now. You hit each other in the head with sticks. And I go to crash, and I figured he'll be out cold. I'll break my stick, and he'll be on the ice. God damn, something happened. I hit cross-checked his shoulder. I'm in another fight with the guy. So you get in a fight, and he's a good fighter and all that. And I thought I did pretty good and all that. And you sit there and say, "Holy shit!" So I'm in two fights with a guy, and then they send him down. And next game they're going to bring up someone else. So your question is, does it wear on you? It wears on you. That wore on me for sure. It's tough to come up with that rage as you get older each and every time. And I think I have an advantage because I was terrified of guys like you and putting your fist in my face. So I was able to bring some of it up, everything. But yeah, that got trying.
Yeah,
but
right.
Also, then the game changed, and so those guys that couldn't play at all did on the team and whatever, I had respect for the guys that would play hard and weren't going to get back down. My focus was always try to back down the guys you could, the small goal scorers, and the tough guys are going to find me after I piss off their whole team. And I didn't have to. There's no sense in running in. I wouldn't have to go after you because now I'm letting the goal scorers play. I'll go after them, and then you've got to come and find me. So that was kind of my strategy. Who
Yeah.
knows how it worked out, right?
No, it did. I mean, I certainly get that. There were times, you had to look out for guys, and then there were times you knew if you're gonna. I had it in Boston. I ended up hitting Middleton. I wrapped him in the mouth, knocked a tooth out in his plate, and split his lip. I got suspended 8 games for it,
Mm.
and they said I butt ended him, but what I did, I took my stick was inside my glove. I turned back and popped him with a quick one with the back
Yeah.
of my glove. And anyway, I got suspended 8 games. When I came back, they already had, O'Reilly, Secord, Wensink, all that crowd, Jonathan, and
Yeah.
and all of a sudden they call up Brian Curran. They call up Jay Miller, couple more guys, Kluzak. They got them all now. They're bringing more. Just when you thought, they can't find any more tough guys, they had them. They brought them up, and I had to fight them all. But I paid a price for that. And as I got older, it certainly wore on me. It wore on me during my career. Like, there's nights you go back to your hotel room, you're icing, whatever. There's nights you're alone and you sit there with that pain and that, just going through your head about, okay, it's starting to get a bit tougher now, and
Yeah.
I'm still doing my job. But that being said, as you've aged here and grown older and you look back, and I'm sure writing facing Behn Wilson with Scoop Malinowski, it brought back some memories for you. Looking back, would you have done anything differently?
Sometimes I feel like I would have done my whole life differently, right? And I think there's a couple things. And first of all, it's Scoop's book. It's not mine, but what Scoop
Yeah,
did for me, and you've mentioned this, um, he's actually memorialized what guys, thought and what
what
they
we did.
remember.
Yeah,
And as you said, back then we didn't talk to the opposing team, right?
yeah,
I knew you only as the prick that I got to watch out for every
like
shift of the
me.
game, and
Yeah,
that's what I knew you as. And anything about you being a human being, it just never crossed my mind. So um, I think that looking at a career, it would have been nice if all the guys were called up from the minors to fight. It would have been nice if there was some less fighting because it certainly shortened my career, and I just don't want to do it anymore. And um, but then you start thinking what the rules are back then, and
yeah,
those were the rules. And
yeah.
and um, so I think it's you don't get to redo your life, and that when you really think of what the rules are, those were the rules, and at that moment you have to make your best judgment, and just like in a game, you make your best judgment, you make the pass, and if it works out great, you're the smartest hero, and if it's a bad pass,
You're a
then
goat,
you're a goat, and
and not the
it's just
Tom Brady type goats.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I'm going to go to lot, just not the Tom Brady goat. So I think you don't get a chance to do it again, and I would say that it's hard to recreate the desperation to play in the NHL that we all felt,
Yeah,
and without that desperation, we certainly couldn't have and wouldn't have done all the things that we did. Um, and they can say what they want. It's kind of I wouldn't say encouraged to do it, but those are the rules. Those are the
yeah.
rules. And there's a lot of being eaten, and I knew damn well that you can't let someone hurt your goaltender. You can't let someone run over Bobby Clark. You can't let someone beat up Kenny Linsman or Billy Barber. You knew that, and
Right.
because you're going to lose, and
So that, and again, when you think about it, now you've retired, stepped away from the game, and I want to get into your retirement at some point, but I still want to go to your time leaving Philly and all that because you had a home there. You were a Philadelphia Flyer. Have you ever got that feeling? Like, that feeling before the game. That feeling when you're out there on that ice ready to face off against O'Reilly again. Have you ever had that feeling again after hockey? And that feeling I'm talking about, that.
You mean the feeling when I'm about to fight with my wife?
Well,
No, you know what
you can't recreate that. There's no.
no, you can't.
It seems
You
like
can't.
nothing ever. You'll never find anything that you can latch onto that gives you that same rush, whatever.
No, and I think one of the things that people misjudge themselves with is we were young, we were in the moment. It was the last night of our life type of thing, and we're going all out. And over time, people say, "Oh yeah, I get that feeling back again," or whatever. And if you could actually measure it, I think now I can measure the 3%, the rage of when I was younger, and thank God,
Yeah.
you have kids, you try to have a family, and it's pretty hard to fit in that world. And, you just think about after a game. For me, play a game, you're all wound up. There's some fighting, some nasty stuff going on. The next thing, you fall asleep at 5 a.m. And
Yeah.
I've worked at putting all that rage and all that stuff behind me to try to fit in the real world a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And and then again with Scoop bringing back all these memories, holy shit! Just the memories start winding me up in ways that I never get wound up about on a day-to-day basis. So, I think for all of us, they were formative years. We were young, we were becoming adults, sort of, and
Sort
we
of.
fought it out.
Yeah.
We gave everything we can, but I don't. You can only do that when you're young and desperate, and I think
Right.
that's the 1-2 punch. I don't think anyone's close to even their wildest dreams.
Well, listen. I watched a lot of your fights. I never saw you really get your claw cleaned. You lost very few fights, if any at all. And if you did, how did that impact you when you lost? Because we know, right? We've seen guys, they break their nose, break their jaw, they get hurt bad in a fight, and it shakes your confidence. It shakes your confidence. I remember my first fight, my first 2 fights against the Bruins. Jonathan, and then the second fight was O'Reilly. So I knew he was a lefty, and I threw a right away, and he hit me with like 3 left. Boom, boom, boom. And I was like, the blood was pouring out of my head. I stayed on my feet, but I couldn't see. I get to the penalty box, and my pride is wounded. He's my hero. I grew up watching him. I loved him, and now he does this to me. And I looked over. I was wiping my face, and I look over, and he goes, and he pointed to his left, like I knew. He's like telling me, "You knew it. You're like, what happened there?" So I remember sitting there that night and saying, if I want to last in this league, if I want to stay in this league, I have to change some things. I got to become a smarter, better technical fighter, because if I don't, I'll never last. I'm just under 6 feet and 200 pounds. Like, hello. But so a lot of guys had that size advantage, but I had a couple things that kind of helped even the score. And I became a much better technical fighter and learned how to fight the way I wanted to, not the way the other guy wanted me to fight. And that's how I was able to survive and stay around as long as I did. And that's not an easy thing to do. But if you did, like I said, you lost very few fights. So that fight there impacted me in a way where it made me change some things. And it made me think a bit more.
Well,
if you lost the fight, how did it affect you? Or did it?
The way I describe what you're saying, I think you hit I think the biggest part of fighting that goes unnoticed or overlooked, and that is you can't win a fight 100 punches to 99 and think you're going to stay around. You can't take the punches.
Yeah.
And when I was in junior, and I said the first fight was 100 fists going around. Some of mine I didn't know. And then I fought this guy, Trevor Johansson in junior. And he was 5'10", 200 pounds. And I'm winning the fight. I'm doing great, except he's got the grip on my elbow, on my right hand, and my punches are either 2 inches short, 1 inch short, or just grazing him. And I'm unable to hurt him. And he popped me once in the nose, and ouchie, ouchie. And then I said, shit, that's what I'm doing. So my entire fighting career was, I think, and the critical thing is, I don't really fight until I've got a hold of someone and I've got their grip. Now, you might be able to get in a punch or two at the beginning, but I don't fight until I've got a grip. And when I've got a grip on your arm, and I know you can't hit me, or hit me, it looks
They're
good
not going to hurt.
The movies, and they're not. You've taken 90% of the power off, and then I get to wail away the best I can. And if you got a grip on me, then it's a fight. I got to try to break your grip on me, and you're trying to break my grip on you. And I remember fighting you, and kind of pissed off. I would like to have wailed the shit out of you, but you knew how to fight. You knew how to fight, and I couldn't break your grip on me. And call it what you want, is pretty much a draw because you knew how to fight. And some guys knew how to fight, and some guys just wailed. And those guys didn't last too long because they got hit too hard. So the only time I got hit hard is a kind of funny story. We got time, but
we got time. No problem.
Okay,
no
so
rush.
the biggest pain in the ass for me was Willie Platt, no question. I fought him 8 times, and again, it doesn't matter. Did he win this fight or lose this fight? The guys dropped their gloves to me; they win, and both sides. And when I first played against him, I'm 19, and I don't know if he won Rookie of the Year or whatever. He scored 40 goals a year before, and I see him skating around warm-up and with his blonde hair combed back, and I said, "You know what he is? He's a Swede. He's a goal-scoring Swede."
Right.
And I said, "Well, he ain't scoring on me." So playing the game, he comes around the net and he comes in front of our net, and I just spear him. And I figured that's it. That's it for that Swede. He won't get near the net when I'm on the ice, right? And in about 3 seconds, I'm fighting for my life. And I said, holy shit, what did I get involved in? I'm fighting for my life. And then I go find out. And my take on why Willie scored 40 goals is no one wanted to get near him because he was vicious with his stick. He was just vicious. So anyway, he got the idea. I can spear him next time. He cross-checked me in the back of the neck, and then we fight. And then he sticks me another time. So and that's how we fought. It was just so. Anyway, we're in this fight, and I actually thought I did the better of the first few fights, and now he's so pissed off because he hasn't hurt me. And I'm winning again. I've got my grip and all that stuff, and he's so pissed off. He stops fighting. He grabs my helmet and rips it off my head so he doesn't have to hit my helmet. And then he starts shaking me. And like I said, I had good balance. And he shook me so hard, I fell down to my knee. My elbow broke with my grip, and he hit me in the back of the head and just rang my gong. And so he cut me for some stitches in the back of my head. But you can't see the blood. It's in my hair, right? And I get up, and something happened. I don't know what. But anyway, I hit him with a punch, and I think I cut him for a bunch of stitches in his eye. But all of a sudden, his grip, the power's not there. The grip's not. He's not fighting. I know I've hurt him. So, like any other sane person, that's the time to punch more, right? Yep. So I'm punching. He's hurt. I'm punching as much as I can. The refs get in there, and I'm yelling at them, and the refs are there, and they can't break us apart, and I'm going to kill them. I'm yelling. I'm exhausted. I was too tired to fight, but I know his grip went soft, and I'm acting like I'm just getting started, and I'm yelling, and my head's spinning. He hit me so hard. I'm dizzy as shit, but I'm yelling, and I won't relax my grip. And finally, Billy Barbara came over to me and said, "Hey, Ben, he's already off the ice." So I didn't know what was going on. I don't know who I'm yanking and fighting and wrestling with. Must be the referees or my own teammates. I don't know. So anyway, because I won't stop the referees, the two linesmen, they're not going to let me skate to get off the rink. They're going to escort me.
Oh, yeah, they're going to stick next to you.
Oh, yeah, which is great because my head's spinning so much. Number one, I would have fallen down. Mm-hmm. Number two, I couldn't have found the gate that's open if you gave me an hour, right? So anyway, they go, and they help me off the ice, and then you got the concrete floors, but you got a 3-foot wide rubber mat, of which I can't stay on the mat because he hit me hard in the head. I'm on one side. I'm walking on the concrete. I don't care. I get back to the dressing room, and other guys got kicked out, and Moose DuPont's there, I remember. And all of a sudden, Moose, all of a sudden, there's a tunnel around from our dressing room to theirs, and there's a metal door there. And Willie Platt, Harold Filipoff, and guys are on the other side. They're screaming at us to open the door. Now, first of all, my head's spinning. Second of all, we fight on land. It's for free. And we get criminally charged. So that's not a good one for me, right? And all we have is this metal deadbolt. If I pop the metal deadbolt, we're probably going to fight until someone dies. And this is going to be really bad. And I'm looking at this, and all of a sudden, I go get a stick, and I'm pounding on the door. They're yelling at me, "Hey, open the goddamn door." And I'm saying, "No, you guys open the door." No, I had just flicked with one finger. I could have opened it and someone would be dead. But instead, I went and broke about 50 sticks against that door. I took every stick I could find, I pounded, and I kept screaming at them. By the time I finished, they'd probably gone back to their dressing room for about 10 minutes. So when you're saying, or did I get hit hard? Yep. And the one thing you just can't back down. And
you got to get back at it and get back at it the next night or the next period, right? It's not.
And you know what? I think
not for the faint-hearted.
No, and I think I think it's tough, like you say, when the guys get hit hard. And I saw a couple of guys that were trying to be tough, and they're just getting hit too hard. And it's tough to fight when you're pulling your head back, trying not to get hit. Right? It's hard to get any muscle on that, and so it's a bad thing. But I was pretty fortunate.
You did well.
I got hit hard.
Yeah, you were. Like I said, I didn't see you lose many fights, if at all. So the time of the Flyers, well, you had 5 years, right? And you had, you had great seasons, and you did your job. How does the trade come about, and why did you get traded? Did it have anything to do with contract by any chance?
No.
Or did it have more to do with issues, the way you were playing, relationship with the coach? What was it?
Bob McCann was the coach, and he didn't like me as a player, and he might not have liked me. I don't know, but he certainly didn't like me. And my last year there, I didn't play much, or I'd play left wing or right wing for a couple of shifts a game. And when he was named general manager, I think I was traded a week later. So
I didn't care for him, and I'll tell you why. Because he was always yapping off the bench. I hated coaches who yapped at players. I hated it.
Right.
He did that when we were in Maine all the time, and then twice in Maine. Once in Maine, but he'd done it a bunch of times. I had a fight with Gary Morrison, and I cut him bad. And I was on top of him, but I never hit him. I just kept him down. It was in Maine, and he sent the whole bench. Now, both benches empty. I let Morrison up and said, okay, didn't hit him, he didn't hit me. And then all of a sudden, we're outnumbered. Glenn Cochran got away from someone, and I got two of them coming after me. Now Morrison wants to fight me again because Glenn's with him.
Yeah.
And I did not lift my feet off the ice. I kept them on the ice. I backed up as much as I could. The linesman finally come over and grabbed Glenn. Now Morrison stops.
Yeah.
And he don't want to fight all of a sudden again. So I go after him again.
Why is that?
Well, so I didn't like what he did, McCammon. I didn't like him yapping. Anyway, Flyers. So you leave there. Was it a lot of people? We look at the pro athlete. Oh, you get traded, big deal. You're gone. See you later. But God, you uproot your personal life, everything. Boom. You were married at the time. Did you have children?
Yep.
Yeah.
Married, and when I got to Chicago for training camp in September, I think I had a baby 10 days later.
10 days. So you play in Chicago. We ended up fighting in Chicago. You played the 4 years there. Who was your coach in Chicago those years?
Well, we had Orville Tessier,
Orville.
Bob Pulford.
Pulley, awesome guy.
Awesome, tremendous. And at the end, we had Bob Murdoch.
Okay, so here we go. I'm gonna you play those 4 seasons there in 87, 88. Now I didn't get hurt for the first 8 years, Ben. I was fine health wise, and then I hurt my knee. I went to New York. I broke my arm twice. I had the hockey hernia. Just one thing after another. The injuries were piling up. I had shoulder surgery. Anyway, it was misery, and it was getting tough down the stretch. You know, I went to Boston my last 2 years, and I remember fighting. One night I fought, and I still always say this, but I fought Stu Grimson and Jim McKenzie back-to-back nights. And I remember sitting in the penalty box going, oh, this is getting tougher. I'm starting to question myself now. I know I'm slowing up a bit, losing that dreaded half step. But I said, these guys are getting fucking bigger, and they're so hungry. It was like me in 79, 80, coming in and going after O'Reilly and Jonathan, and I'm going to prove myself. And now guys are doing it to me. And it's not fun. And it's not fun anymore. Not as fun as it was the first few years. But I started questioning myself. I knew I'm near the end, and it was tough. I struggled with that. You were 29 years old when you retired. I knew you had an issue with your back. Was it just injuries that you retired from the game, or was it something else?
No, my back was a setback, and by the end of my next year, I was doing fine, and I was. I thought, I was good enough. I could play another 5 years. I could play maybe longer. And my oldest daughter was about to start kindergarten, and he just wanted a little bit of stability, and not the dad traveling all the time or getting traded or worrying about that. And I thought that was. I thought that was a good plan, and then about 2 years after I retired, contracts and salaries went way up, and so I moved ahead in business and was ready to make the plan, and whether I made the right move or not. And the other thing is, at that point in time, kind of like what you're saying is, broke my back, freak injury. Some things are sore, and thank God I'm doing well now. But maybe I get out healthy, and don't leave it a little bit too long. Yeah. And anyway, you can it's sort of like if you see a new car you want, you can justify why that's the prudent thing to do. All you want, and I decided. It's don't know when I'm retiring, but let's pick it and let's move ahead. And I ended up having 3 girls and didn't look back. I didn't follow hockey for
God bless you.
until
God bless you.
Scoop got a hold of me. Yeah, yeah.
That's unbelievable. Now, 29 years old, you step away from the game, and and listen, back then they didn't give a shit. You're gone. See you later. And it's still that way. You're an athlete. What can you do for me today? You can't do it anymore. See you later. I get it. I'm not whining about it. That's life. That is life.
Right.
I remember people used to say, you're just a piece of meat, right? You hear that about athletes. And really, when you step away, you go, yeah, I was a piece of meat,
Yeah.
Again, more than that, but again, they use you until you can't do it anymore. And you get
You're a good piece
compensated
of
well
meat.
for it. Yeah.
Yeah, you're a good piece of meat.
Yeah, you get compensated well for it. So, life after hockey, not easy. The transition out is not easy. Some guys do well at it. I struggled. I had a bunch of injuries. And again, I'm not making excuses. I went down a very lonely, cold, dark road. It didn't happen right away, but it gradually, I was on this path that was taking me to a place where no one wants to be, but you end up there. And I'm today, I'm glad I got out of that. But that being said, not a lot of support when you leave the game in that transition part of the game. How did you do it? Where'd you go? You leave Chicago, you step away from hockey. You don't even, did you keep in touch with any teammates, any stuff like that, or you just separate altogether?
Yeah, I think I separated altogether. I mean, guys like Kenny Linsman and Timmy Kerr, remain friends. But in the summers and time off, I used to try to work with successful people in real estate development and learn the shtick. And
Kenny
when
does
I retired,
that, right?
yeah,
Kenny does.
Kenny,
Yeah.
Kenny's extremely successful at
Yeah.
that. He's
Yeah, he is.
Kenny's always been one of my heroes. He's as smart as shit, and
Yeah.
he knows what he's done. So, but anyway, you learn from that, and the next thing you know, I've got 3 kids, and I got them in this terrible habit of eating every day, and they want to sleep in a house, and the next thing you know, you're marching to a different drummer, trying to keep that going, and.
Yeah.
But I worked a lot in the summers while I was playing, and in the afternoons trying to learn things and develop skills. To be successful is maybe too strong a word, but to be to get in the game, so to speak. And then once you can get a little traction in something, you get it going, it's a little bit different. The tough thing is getting into the world, because it's not like it's not like hockey transitions itself.
You can fight your way
other
in.
than a coach.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but anyway, it was good, and and I knew that was the next time in my life is for my kids, and
So did you leave
and it was.
Chicago? Did you? You're in
Yeah,
Florida now, as I understand it. What part of Florida are you?
Palm Beach
Palm
County.
Beach.
What happened is I had some investments and business going in Philadelphia when I was in Chicago. So we always went the summers back to Philadelphia, and then I had a chance to expand a business in Florida from Philadelphia, and my kids were playing competitive tennis, and I thought, well, instead of sending my number one guy down there to run it, how about he stays up here and runs that, and I'll go down, and we'll run and I'll run it from down there. And but we went for the summer just to see if the kids liked the tennis, and they did, or I thought they did, and we sold our house, bought a house down in Florida, and the next thing was all 3 of my girls quit tennis and
Good.
took up horseback riding, and one went back to tennis and all that, but it's just series of different forks in the road, and I was in Florida, and we're
Well,
still
God
here.
bless you. God
Yeah,
bless you. And that's good. And you went off and you had a good life and successful life down there. Done well in real estate, right?
yeah.
Yeah, good for you. Ken Linsman too. I had Kenny on. Jesus, I love Ken Linsman. He is a smart guy. I remember when my first year in the league, first couple of years, I read an article about him. How they said, well, like, you don't know other guys, right? Like, you didn't know me
Right.
personally. I didn't know you, but I read this thing about Kenny, how he was really smart investor and he invested in some art and some other stuff. And I'm like, wow, really? Ken Linsman does that? That shocked me. Like,
Yeah.
because you don't know. You just look at that guy's reputation on the ice,
Yeah.
and that's all you really have to go on. And he has been wildly successful with his business. Loves to surfs every day. Yeah, I stay in touch with Kenny. We talk. Imagine.
Yeah. So Kenny and I, because we're all the same year,
Yeah.
my first year junior, I set the bench, and he was a star over at Kingston. And I
Yeah.
look at that, and the little, can't say it on the radio, but the little something that he is, he had like 210 minutes in penalties, and he terrified
He was a
other
little
teams.
prick.
Yes, that's the word. That's the word. He terrified other teams, and so. Oh, one time he hacked me, and I hacked him back, and hey, we got in a fight, and he fell down immediately before I got a chance to just pummel him. So whenever we get together, he always tells me how lucky I was that he didn't kick my ass. But Kenny is, if he went from being a hero for mine when I was 16 and watching him play, and then we were both drafted together for the Flyers, and good friends. And but Kenny could play the game lights out, and
Yeah.
off the thing he was just relentless in his stuff, and has done great. So he's the banner boy for doing it great.
The game today, obviously, they cracked way down on fighting, the no hooking and the holding. Boy, I remember, and you said it earlier, I remember slashing guys that, I mean, today I'd get suspended for, and you wouldn't even get a call sometimes. Like you said earlier, cross checks in front of the net, crazy. They've really taken all that out of the game, and that's fine. I'm good with that. They took the red line out. Man, it sped up the game. But I don't think, is it necessarily a better product because of that? I don't know. I know it's fast. I don't like the game as much as I used to. Again, I'd take a lot of things out of the old game too. I get it. It got a little crazy. I hated brawls. Didn't mind a good one-on-one fight. But it just seemed, the games are more exciting, more intense. Sometimes you just get some real stinkers during the season. But playoff hockey seems to be more the old style of hockey, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that first of all, even when we played, and the game got a lot tougher in playoffs.
Yeah.
And less fights because you couldn't afford to take dumb penalties in playoffs, but it's still tough. The game now, a lot of more sweeping, the cross checking and that. So I guess my take on it is, I don't know how we survived all the violence, and it's probably a good thing because when we played, and you know this, there were a lot of good players and that were too terrified to play. And we took their spot, so it's good for us. But the advantage back then, I think, there were players with disparities. Some guys were fast and could shoot. Some guys are strong, and then you look for mismatches, and the mismatches made the game very exciting. And like in pro basketball, you used to have the big centers. And now pretty much everyone can play almost any position. So you don't get that disparity, the mismatches, that excitement. But I think it's the evolution of the game. And tennis suffers from the problem of, after a while the serves were getting too fast, anyone could play. And the racks were getting too good. And I think if anything, my only criticism with the game right now is it's too difficult to score. I remember Reggie Leach going down on the wing, getting a slap shot, and I wouldn't say he scored most of the time, but he had a realistic chance. Now with the goaltenders' pads, they come out. It's fair to say you have zero chance of scoring.
You don't see
And
much net, right? You don't see
there's
much net.
no the webbing between the goaltender's arms, the padding, and before the pads were smaller because they were made of felt, and
Yeah,
they used to get wet and heavy.
yeah,
Now the pads are flyweight and they're
yeah,
huge,
yeah,
and the gloves. The goaltender's gloves and blockers, everything's big, and all they do is drop down in a Z. And I'm not saying in a V, and I'm not saying it's not a tough job. I wouldn't want it. That's for damn sure. I'm just saying that it's just really tough to. If you went down and you had a good team, and you went down and you got a lot of good shots on that, it
yeah,
really doesn't dictate you're going to win. It really
yeah.
depends on how many goofy deflections there are.
And there's no more little goalies, right?
No. This is
You
you stick,
don't see any more little goalies, which is incredible. But
and there's no more saves. It's all blocking. It's
uh,
all blocking. They get out, play the angle. They're big, and they block the shot as opposed to making a save. So I don't know. And the sticks are different now. I don't know if they shoot harder. I don't know how it works, but I'm watching more and more of it, and um, it's kind of fun to see. I struggle with the sweeping instead of taking the man. But
yeah,
like you made a great point. In playoffs, they don't sweep; they take the man out. Playoffs
yeah,
get pretty
yeah.
serious.
Everything gets more intense. Then listen. Did you play golf at all down there, Ben?
I play very little. I play very little. I used to play for business, and that wore me out. But I have some good friends, and we go out and play. I think all of us have the problem that you think of, oh, I'm going to get good at it, right? And and I was always good enough that I could hit that one perfect ball that makes you think that you're going to do it another 71 times, and that gets. So now I go out, I have fun with my buddies, and I don't worry about anything.
Well, listen. I don't know if you'd be interested, but this year I have my first Chris Nilan Golf Classic to benefit the Liam Foundation. A good friend of mine's son has a rare mitochondrial disease, but last year we had about 35 guys come in. Chelios was there, Serge Savard, Larry Robinson, Guy Cobb. A lot of former players came in to town and played in the tournament, which was awesome. It was really successful first season. But if you're interested, I would like to extend an invite to you for next year. You don't have
Well,
to answer me now. I'm just going to throw it out
short answer is hell yeah.
there.
Get me get me invited. Give me some advance notice,
Yeah,
and then I'll get my rear end up there. That'd be great. And I'd love
yeah.
to see the guys. I would.
I would. That's what I'd love to have you come in and good to see you reconnect with some hockey guys and be part of it. Because boy, everywhere I go, I end up seeing guys I played against or with, and it's just awesome to reconnect and say hello. And I wanna thank you for joining me today. One, two, you had a tremendous career. When I looked at your numbers, and I never did until we were gonna do this. And I gotta tell you, you had a point every 2 games. You had an incredible career. 8 years, tough as nails. Man, impressive to see what you did in your hockey career. And I'm happy for you in your second life that you've had some success in business and you have a great family, 3 girls and your wife. There's just awesome stuff. And it was good to get to know you this little bit. And one day we will shake hands and look each other in the eye.
Well, I'll tell you this. Thanks for having me on. Thanks for your kind words. And just remember, you and guys like you are what shortened my career. Without guys like you, I might be still playing. So,
You probably would be, right, you bastard? just the pure drive and intensity. We'd all love to get one more go at it. Ben, I want to thank you again for joining me, and we will meet one day.
Absolutely. Get me to that golf tournament, and thanks for having me on.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Raw Knuckles with Chris Nilan on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.